Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Master Builder Show. I am your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. I'm a graduate master builder and a certified graduate builder, certified by the National Association of Home Builders. I'm a member of the National Association of Home Builders research team and Remodelers Council, also a member of the Texas Association of Builders. And today's topic is going to be building to accommodate animals and home inspections. And my guests today are Dale Miller with Trusted Home Inspections and my wife, Jean Gibson. She's also with Gibson Home Builders Incorporated. How are y'all this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning. Just fine.
All right, great. We're going to be talking about, like I said, home inspections. And if anybody's got any questions out there, they can call us at 877-341-8950. That's 877-341-8950. And if you need to check out a builder or a remodeler, you can go to my website, which is www.masterbuildershow.com, and click on the TRCC little tab there, and it'll take you right into TRCC. And you can check out a builder or remodeler and make sure that they are registered with the state and see if they've got any problems. Anyway, Jean, you've got some stuff you want to talk about this morning.
I got 2 cents worth to put in, so. Excuse me. Bumped me. We were recently watching a remodeling show, and what they said was they were going to talk about pet projects, and I got all excited because I thought, at last, somebody's going to talk about pets. Well, the bottom line was that they were talking about the builder's favorite projects, not how to build for pets. Well, long, long ago, and not so very far away, Jim and I were permittees to rehab hawks, owls, songbirds, wild birds. Raptors, yes. And that was quite an education, that we had to build habitat for the animals.
Right.
And it was not unusual to have the park rangers show up at our door with a great blue heron. They showed up one day with, what did we get? Oh, we got an emu that had been running down the highway. The swan, huh?
What
was it?
A rhea.
A rhea. Well, a shorter emu.
Shorter emu with an attitude.
So, I hated that bird. And it hated me. It was mutual. But the bottom line on all of this, and what I want to bring to the foreground for a change, is talking about construction for animals. That we build environments for humans, and so many of us have all kinds of pets.
And we keep them in our house.
Well, we certainly do, and a lot of other folks do. And with livestock, we know of people who care for their horses and put them in air-conditioned, beautifully built stables that are quality. And we have this expertise for building for animals. But I wanted to bring up several points. Right now, we have a collection. We've got a horse, we've got miniature goats, really tiny goats. We've got dogs, cats, and a collection of birds from a large Amazon to a bunch of bare-naked, brand-new little guys. I take in the unwanted little cripple birds. And what makes everything functional is to have the proper environment.
It's the way it's laid out. And
it is. It's too much work if it's haphazard, if it's not thought out. So part of the construction and development of a homestead, if you're an animal person the way we are, should include the environments for the animals. Makes it easier for you and healthier too, because that's one of the main issues. You run into terrible diseases for people who have birds in their houses.
Well, you run into all sorts of problems with people that they have pets and they don't really consider their fish a pet. But you go in, and some houses have these large aquariums, or they might have 3 or 4 aquariums. Well, the builder's biggest problem most of the time is moisture. So what are you doing when you've got an aquarium in the house? It's evaporating in the house, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so you've got to, if you're going to do it and do it right, you've got to put some type of way to get the moisture out of the house with those aquariums, because all you're doing is raising the relative humidity in the house with those aquariums.
But if you put in something that draws the humidity out, you evaporate the tank and throw off the balance on the water.
No,
it's a mix.
The tank's going to evaporate at the same rate no matter what you do.
Unless you don't, even if you put a dehumidifier beside it?
Well, you don't put it beside it, you put it in the same room.
Well, I went through a list of things that needed to be considered in new construction if you've got animals. And it's the food for the animals, where to store it, and how to store it, what to keep it in to keep bugs and mice out, and moths. We know that I buy bulk bird food, and you get these tiny moths. I keep everything in plastic containers. Open the lid, and these little moths come out when you buy in bulk because it gets buggy. Quantities, where are you going to put a freezer for excess, which is a good idea to freeze excess food to keep everything healthy and clean for your animals. And where are you going to place that? Water for all the animals. Everything needs fresh water. Where's a water supply? Add the water supply to the area where the animals are kept, and they will have access, and you'll be able to wash and keep clean their containers. The animals need shelter. One of the things that people are doing...
If they're living in a house, they have a shelter.
And if they're not, if there's plenty of people that keep animals outside, and they need shelter as well.
True.
And dog doors have a major downside. If you've got a big dog and a big dog door, it's also...
raccoons.
That happened to my niece. She left the window open while she was away so the cats could come and go. And with the cats came the raccoons in her house. And she was gone for a couple of days and came back to an absolute mess where the raccoons got in and had free run of her house for a couple of days. And then the cleaning situation. We had a pair of severe macaws, one of which was deathly allergic to orange oil. And it took a lot of money and a lot of time to save that bird's life. So the cleaning of the environment has to be things that are safe for people and for animals. You can clean your environment, kill all the bugs, and kill your animals, too.
Oh, yeah, and they tell you about scented candles, too, when you've got birds.
That was a long time ago that we found out about that with the oils that evaporate from scented candles, because they can kill off your birds. And the other thing that can kill off people who like cockatoos particularly. Cockatoos, even little cockatiels, give off a strong dander from their feathers.
Right.
Which is a nightmare. And the disease, I think, is called histoplasmosis, that the dander irritates the lungs. So you need an air-conditioned, healthy environment. And all these considerations are things for people with pets who are building.
See, if you build your house right, though, and you ventilate it well, like we put outside air exchange units in most of our houses. And
you think that's enough for cockatoos?
Well, you'd have to have it, particularly for that room, or separate a system.
I think separating a system, especially other birds don't give off as much dander.
You got any pets, Dale?
Oh, yeah. Dogs.
Dogs. They're a major consideration. One of the things that I made up a short list, I'm almost done, on construction tips in the house. No carpet in the pet areas, scrubbable walls and floors. Dogs bring in all kinds of treasured, people riding on their backs. They bring in the ticks and the fleas and roll in the poison ivy, and you pet them and you can pick up the oils. Use fume-free paint, no scented candles, no dark corners for clutter, for spiders and the rest, and bugs to hide in.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back.
Well, those are my pet projects.
Well, we'll continue this when we come back. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Alamo Appliance, 100 South Riverside Drive in Fort Worth, has been serving your needs in kitchen appliances since the early 70s. They offer Genair, KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and many other appliances. And their sales staff is ready to help you anytime you might visit. That's Alamo Appliance, 817-531-2701. Once again, the Alamo Appliance number is 817-531-2701.
Fort Worth Lighting, serving the building professional in Parker, Wise, Palo Pinto, and surrounding counties. Services include planned takeoff, site walkthrough, and delivery. For an appointment with a Fort Worth Lighting consultant, the number is 817-597-6320, or the website is fortworthlighting.com. Again, it's 817-597-6320 for Fort Worth Lighting.
Are you having a construction-related issue? Do you need a construction attorney? If so, you may call the law firm of Kelly M. Davis and Associates. Kelly's family background in the construction industry has led to her focus in construction litigation with over 9 years of experience practicing construction law in and around the metro area. For more information, you may visit www.kmdalegal.com or you may call 972-434-8009. That's 972-434-8009. Kelly M. Davis and Associates. Principal offices are located in Lewisville, Texas.
North Texas Basements, 817-770-2768. With over 30 years of experience in residential construction, add extra living area, storm protection, and extra room that will be easy to heat and cool without needing a large piece of ground to build on. Think about having a basement in your next home. North Texas Basements, 817-770-BSMT or 817-770-2768. Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I'm your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. My guests today are Dale Miller, and he is with Trusted Home Inspections, and my wife, Jean Gibson, and we're talking about how to build, a residential structure and live with our animals.
Yeah.
And what we need to do to build our house right, to accommodate the animals and accommodate us well without making us sick. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, it really is, because so many of us have, at the moment, we're down on numbers, but we've got probably a dozen big birds. I mean, you have to consider how to care for them, how to keep them clean so that we don't get sick and they don't get sick. And there's one more little pet peeve from long, long ago when we were rehabbing. When the golf courses would put out poison for the mice on the golf courses.
For the mice, the gophers, the squirrels, and everything else.
We got so many owls in.
Owls and hawks that were poisoned.
The little screech owls, particularly. If you don't know what they are, I've got a website called BirdLink, and I've got pictures of me feeding a screech owl. And it looks like a little fuzzy ice cream cone sitting there. And it's just pure fuzz. It's 5 or 6 inches tall.
It's not that tall. They're only that tall when they're grown.
Yeah, but they're tiny, fuzzy, little characters. And if they eat a poisoned mouse, they get poisoned. And that's what we got a lot of. So those are things you have to consider in your home. If you've got pets, you've got mice and bugs. And what are you going to do to prevent them from getting out of control in your house? Those are major considerations. And poisoning mice in your home means that the cat who catches that sluggish mouse just got poisoned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't think about that, but there's a lot of products out there that you can get that will not harm your cats and stuff. I'm if you go in the organic way.
Well, for your mice, get a cat.
Let the cat do
it.
Kill
of course, we've got a cat that's just a dumbhead. It thinks mice are to play with and then walks away and takes a nap and lets the mouse run on. But I just asked Dale, too, since we were going to move into inspections, if we build an environment for our animals. We've got stables that have been constructed. One we just heard about, too, that the entire inside of the horse stable is knotty alder.
And it's not knotty, it's clear alder.
It's clear alder.
Which is more expensive than the knotty alder, yeah.
But that's for inside the stalls. Building for the horses out here are magnificent animals. They're very expensive animals. They need a special environment.
And they need it to look
you
pretty.
Don't let somebody leave a nail sticking out. You have to be very, very conscientious about this environment, and it has to be a healthy environment, too. And as an inspector, if this is all new construction, do you go in and inspect these animal environments?
No.
I wouldn't think.
No, we don't.
It's
The
not
only thing
required.
we look for is we look for any mechanical issues, which is air conditioning, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, anything to do with the structure itself. But as far as who will be living in it, like that, as far as animals, no.
So if it's new construction of any kind, you're called out to inspect?
No.
What's the criteria?
He's hired by individuals that want an inspection of their house. Now we're going to have inspections that are going to be required coming up September 1st by all builders on all new construction. But Dale is primarily hired on any residential or commercial structure that the buyer wants an inspection pulled. And so he goes in, and I want you to kind of go through what you're looking for when you go in for an inspection.
Well, normally, whenever a buyer or even a seller would hire my services, I would go out and actually do a full, it's actually a 6-point inspection. We actually start on the roof. We look at everything from the top of the roof all the way down to the bottom of the foundation, and everything in between. We check all the appliances, make sure they all work. You check all the roof structure. You check everything in the attic completely. You make sure that the exterior of the house is intact. Make sure it meets all the safety criteria that we have for electrical. Make sure all your plumbing is intact like it should be. Make sure all the HVAC, which is the heat, ventilation, and air conditioning, works properly. We check for certain guidelines that we have on checking to make sure the air conditioning is cooling efficiently like it should be. You check all your plumbing fixtures. Make sure you have no leaks.
Right.
Be sure all your drainage works correctly. You basically would look at a house, or at least I do. I inspect a house as if I was going to be buying it. What would I want to know about it that would affect me or my family if we were moving into it? What would be potentially breaking? We look at the water heater. Make sure everything that I can possibly get my hands or eyes on to be sure it works correctly, like you would want me to be inspected for you too. And that way you know exactly what's wrong with the house going forward before you move in.
Okay, when you say you look at things, it's a visual inspection on the exteriors. The hot water heater, do you open it up to see if the calcium's piled up in the bottom?
Now, third-party inspectors such as myself, we're actually all professional home inspectors, we are considered to be non-intrusive inspectors.
Define.
We don't take things apart to any great extent. Anything that we would take apart and tear into is considered above our scope of work. Scope of work is lined out by the state of Texas through Texas Real Estate Commission. And we're actually there to make sure that without having to disassemble something, that is working properly.
And so what he'd do, he would turn on the hot water and make sure that it gets hot.
Correctly.
And if there was no obvious exterior deficit, you would have to pass on something.
Correct. Now, after a while, once you get experience in this job, you know what to look for. There are certain things and telltale signs, such as if you have rust stains on the outside of a water heater running down where it has leaked in the past, well, that was going to raise a red flag. Now, I myself would probably have a tendency on an electric water heater to take the little cover off the heating elements and look inside to be sure what it looks like in there, to see if it looks like
What should it look like in there?
It should be dry.
We've got to take another break. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Alamo Appliance, 100 South Riverside Drive in Fort Worth, has been serving your needs in kitchen appliances since the early 70s. They offer Genair, KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and many other appliances. And their sales staff is ready to help you anytime you might visit. That's Alamo Appliance, 817-531-2701. Once again, the Alamo Appliance number is 817-531-2701.
Fort Worth Lighting, serving Parker, Wise, Palo Pinto, and surrounding counties with a selection of interior and exterior lighting fixtures. They also have ceiling fans, mirrors, and vanities in all sizes. A lighting consultant will help you with your decisions. For an appointment with a Fort Worth lighting consultant, the number is 817-597-6320, or the website is fortworthlighting.com. 817-597-6320 for Fort Worth Lighting.
Are you looking for a law firm with an understanding of the construction industry? Kelly M. Davis & Associates experience includes home inspections, construction contracts, disputes with builders, and helping subcontractors or vendors that have not been paid for their services. For more information, you may visit www.kmdalegal.com, or you may call 972-434-8009. That's 972-434-8009.
Kelly M. Davis and Associates. Principal offices are located in Louisville, Texas.
North Texas Basements, 817-770-2768. With over 30 years of experience in residential construction, add extra living area, storm protection, and extra room that will be easy to heat and cool without needing a large piece of ground to build on. Think about having a basement in your next home. North Texas Basements, 817-770-BSMT or 817-770-2768. Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I am your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. And my guests today are Dale Miller, and he is with Trusted Home Inspections, and my wife, Jean Gibson, with Gibson Home Builders. And we're talking about home inspections. And as of September 1st of this year, all new residents.
A month from now,
September 1st, will have to be third-party inspected. And they will require a foundation inspection pre-pour. Then they will, the framing, and then mechanical inspection. And then they will also require a final inspection and, to make sure that everything is operating correctly. And basically what you're doing, Dale, is after everything's completed and you're not doing any construction type inspections like going in inspection foundations and stuff like that, are you?
I am right now as far as what is called a regular draw or phase inspection for banks.
Okay.
Whenever whenever builders come in and get their entry
draw,
okay, and whenever they want to take a draw, then they'll contact the bank and say, okay, I want you to send an inspector out here,
right?
Who will contact me. They actually contact another party, and I'll work through another party. There's like several companies out there, and I work for a few of them on the side. And they'll contact me, and I will go out, and sometimes they'll tell me what they want to have inspected.
Right.
Sometimes they'll just give me a list of everything and let me go out there and see what's been done and check off and I will give them the percentages of everything that has been done, and I'll issue that I'll submit it online with pictures to substantiate anything I say. And
excellent.
That's how they determine how much draw that the builder will get off of it at that time.
Do you do things like test the standard of the cement when you're talking about a pour, or the size of the rebar, any of those kind of things, or the size of pipes to make sure they're within a proper standard?
No,
none of that.
That's not part of it.
So it's when you do the bank inspections, it's more of a yes, they poured the cement.
Well, yeah, like when I submit a draw, a lot of banks, or some of them that we've worked with in the past, I don't work with them anymore, but what they would do, you would submit a draw like on Wednesday. They would send an inspector out on Thursday, and to make sure that all the work that you're putting the draw in for had been complete before they cut you a check. And then they would cut you a check on Friday to pay your people.
But it's more of the work is done, not how well it's done.
Correct. No, yeah.
But when you're inspecting for somebody to buy, it's a used house. You're inspecting for them. You're looking for quality at that point, not the fact that something's been done.
Correct. Yeah, and I do new houses as well as previously owned houses too.
And that's quality inspection.
Well, no, he's not. You're not really inspecting for quality. You're just making sure everything works. Correct.
Make sure everything works, but I guess you might blend in that term on new houses as well. Whenever I'm inspecting those, because I also look for dings on walls. I look for paint missing. I look for a new house is actually considered a little bit different on that inspection because it takes a little bit more. We look for everything to be sure it's just next to perfect, if at all possible.
Right. So you're looking for square and level, plumb and
no, we don't look for square and level. We're looking for appearance.
Right.
Appearance.
Right. Okay.
And to what extent that aesthetics for appearance? If the brick job is all crookedy, if the lines are wavy, but the bricks are all there and they're all holding together, which do you report? Yes, the bricks are all there holding together, or they're all crooked?
No, if it's got actual, and I've seen walls like that are actually
wavy.
just curved, I will actually report that to the buyer and let them know that there's a problem here, and that they want to go back to the builder and talk to them about it. Because a lot of times when people are buying a house, those are the things they're not aware of. That's why they hire me to find those things.
So if I'm buying a house and I hire you, you report to the person that hires you?
Yes.
Right.
All right. And what about if someone else is hiring you, but I'm buying the house? Do you report to me? Will you tell me what you find?
Why would anybody else hire him if you're buying
the
house?
bank to inspect it, to approve it for loan?
The bank won't normally do that.
They won't.
No.
That doesn't normally
Okay.
happen.
It'll be the buyer's call on everything.
Okay. So do a walkthrough for me, an exterior first of all.
The very first thing I would do is if the roof is accessible and is not a pitch that I couldn't walk on, as long as I can get up there on top of it.
And these new ones are terrible.
And some of them are.
Yeah.
I'll get on the roof and I'll look around and I'll make sure that there's there hadn't been any kind of damage up there. With all the hailstorms we've had lately,
Yeah.
I found hail damage up there. I'm a licensed insurance adjuster too, so I look around really close for that. Mm-hmm. And I have found one over here in the Weatherford area just in the last 2 months. It was a brand new house, had hail damage already on it.
Oh, yeah.
And so right off the bat, the builder's got to put a brand new roof on. But after I get finished with the roof, I look at the chimney, make sure that everything looks tight, be sure that the the chimney chase, which is the surrounding, is all tight and not ready to fall off. Make sure that there's a rain cap and spark arrestor on top. Look for the ventilation, just so I'll know and be aware of what kind of ventilation there is, that there's no holes in the attic. Get off. Then I'll next do the exterior of the house. I'll look to see what kind of veneer, which is the covering of the house. It'll be brick, siding, masonite, whatever it happens to be. Make the full surrounding around the house. I make at least 2 perimeters around the house to be sure that I haven't missed anything. Look at the foundation then. Make sure the foundation has no cracks. If they do, I want to be sure what that foundation's doing. The only thing that a professional home inspector in Texas is required to give an opinion of is the foundation. So I want to be sure of what the foundation's doing on a house.
What can you tell about the foundation from the exterior?
You look for cracks. You look for telltale signs that there is shifting or movement. You look to see what the grade is like around the foundation. Is there water settling around the foundation? You look for telltale signs in brick on the mortar. If you've got a stair step through the mortar going up, you look down at the foundation, because a lot of times it'll be related to something that started at the foundation. And you look for everything around the foundation to tell you what it's doing as well. So the surroundings around it will give you a lot of information.
Do you, we're still on the outside walking around, and this is my house, and you're finding these things. Everything I hear that's a negative about my house is going to be a mild heart attack for me. So do you give me a 1 to 10 how terrible this is?
One thing that a good home inspector will do is they will take into account the age of a home. I would not inspect a 50-year-old home like I would one that was 3 or 4 years old. You have to take a lot of things into account. Whenever something that's been sitting there for a long time, it's going to show a little bit more age than a house that is brand new. So you kind of account for the fact that there's going to be a few little dings here and a few dings there and a few things that won't look just perfect. You might have a little bit of beginning stages of wood rot on some of the chimney chase or places where their wood is on the exterior. And so you have to take and use a lot of common sense and logic in what we do.
What he's going to do is make a list of everything that
Correct.
he finds and give that to you, and then you're going to go to your builder and say, can you fix this or that, or can you give me an adjustment on the cost? And that's primarily what he's doing. And most of the time, what most of the people are concerned with is mechanical systems, appliances, and stuff like that. It's things that are big expense to
Well,
repair,
a roof is a
replace.
huge one.
Well,
We
the
know
roof
that.
also, but if you're going in having to replace the air conditioning heating system too, that's a pretty big chunk. Usually, that's a lot more than the roof.
Well, how do you know, looking at it, that it's functional today and it's broken tomorrow? Do you have, from your experience, can you tell if a unit's not humming properly?
For instance, on HVAC, air conditioning, heating, a lot of times you can. We actually have a way. We take readings on the air conditioning. One of the first things I do, like this time of year, whenever I walk in, is I'll turn the air conditioning down to a pretty low temperature, get it cranked up, and let it run for at least 30 minutes to an hour to let it start working efficiently as efficiently as it can be, because sometimes when people will turn their air conditioning 75, 78 degrees like they would normally keep it, well, it'll throttle on and off, and it may mask certain items. Whereas if you crank it down to 65 degrees and let it run continuously for quite a long period of time, sometimes things will come up and show you some of the defects that are going on that you may not be aware of any other time. So I let it run for a while. Then I take temperature readings on it. I check each of the registers throughout the whole house to make sure that they're all connected. I want to look at least within a very few degree range between the bottom and the top on temperature of every register in the house. Then I look for the return error, and we look for no more than 16 to 20 degree difference between the registers and the return error.
On the registers, he's talking about where the air comes out.
Yeah, but 16 to 20 degree difference?
Yeah, what that is actually telling you is every time that the air is circulating through your return air, going through the A coil and returning back through the air registers, it's dropping the temperature 16 to 20 degrees each time it passes. Now, just because it drops to, say, 65 degrees at your register doesn't mean you're going to feel 65 degrees where you're standing. So it's going to feel different to you where you're at in the room. So we actually shoot for temperatures up there at the ceiling level where the air registers are, or where the return air may be.
Wow.
And
you have to be aware, educated on, or expert, which of the three, on air conditioning systems.
Well, he just has to know basically the working, how it works, and what it's supposed to do as far as temperature drop between the registers and the return air. And, he doesn't really have to get into the mechanicals of the system itself.
Even though it's called mechanical.
Well,
the check and the assessment.
Mechanicals. When we're talking mechanicals, we're talking air conditioning, heating system, we're talking plumbing, we're talking electrical. So, what he's actually doing is he doesn't have to be an expert, and he doesn't have to be an electrician to inspect the electrical. What he's doing is turning the switches on and off. He may check polarity on the plugs and make sure that the ground is hooked up on the plugs. We
check every plug in the house, make sure that it meets up to the code of that house. Any house that was built, for instance, after 2002 is supposed to have a certain type of protection in each of the bedrooms. They're called arc fault circuit interrupters.
Right.
That's a fire prevention is all it's for.
They're a pain.
Yeah, they are. And they've just changed the national code this last year to where going forward they're going to start requiring it at some point in time in every room in the house.
On arc fault, if you like you're running a vacuum cleaner or something like that, and the plug just pulls out of the wall accidentally, causes an arc. Well, it kicks the breaker, so you have to go reset the breaker just because you jerk the plug on your vacuum cleaner because you got.
I do that regularly.
Yeah, and
just an extra inch.
Yeah, any type of arc will cause it to kick. And so you've got to actually turn the appliances off, or turn the fan off, or turn whatever you've got plugged into there. You can't just jerk the plug out and expect it to be working when you plug it back in. And like I said, they're a pain, and plus they're more expense.
Right. I remember we discussed this at one time. We had an electrician in, I think it was, and we were talking about the plugs and the change in the standards and the expense associated with those changes.
Yeah. Every time you add something new, the price goes up.
Yeah. And
now when you're standing still, the price goes up.
Well, yeah, because of the price of fuel. But even though these are going to be fee inspectors that are going to be required coming in on September 1st, and so the fee has not been determined by the state yet. And when it does, the builder has to pay the fee for the 3 inspections. So he'll pay for the foundation inspection, he'll pay for the mechanical inspection, framing, and then he'll pay for the final inspection. Of course, he's going to pass all these fees on to whoever buys the home, so the home goes
that's
up.
Obvious, yeah.
It just rolls downhill. So
the inspectors are employees of the TRCC as of September 1st?
No.
So these are all independent companies?
They're considered to be third-party inspectors that will be doing those type of inspections that Jim is referring to.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that?
Well, from the first vision that we have seen, there's going to be a lot at risk. We would actually be doing anybody that takes this role on would actually be taking the responsibility like you have inside the city limits of a building code inspector.
Who is an employee of the city.
Correct. So, for instance, inside the city limits, if a code inspector misses something and somebody ever calls their hand on it, they would either possibly get their hand slapped, the employee might get fired, nothing that great. Whereas outside the city limits, us being third-party inspectors, if we were doing one, then the responsibility would be on our shoulders that we would carry on that house for an undetermined amount of time. And so it actually places a lot more responsibility on us than what a code inspector would have within the city limits.
So you're talking about liability.
Correct.
Well, they're going to have it set up though eventually.
Well, they have 4 weeks, 5 weeks to get it all set up.
But on the form that I've got here on certification, it says the undersigned fee inspector certifies that the undersigned inspected the above referenced property in accordance with the Commission's instructions at the stages indicated above. The construction is a substantial compliance with the building code. Applicable to this property, inspection by the undersigned fee inspector is limited to visible and accessible areas at the time of the inspection. This inspection is not a home warranty, not a guarantee, and not an insurance policy. He is going to inspect the things that are required by the state to make sure that we are in compliance with the codes. And no matter where you build now, the law is that all builders are supposed to meet the either national codes or the local codes in whatever municipality that he builds in, no matter where he builds anyway. And the only thing that's going to change is those people that aren't building that, we're going to find out who they are. And it's going to level the playing field as far as inspections are concerned. Yeah. Everybody is going to have to meet certain requirements when they do build the foundation. They're going to have to meet certain requirements when they put in the air conditioning system, the electrical system, the plumbing systems.
It does leave an opportunity, I think, as Dale was saying, though, for corruption of the system.
It does, but
there's no check and balance right now. There's just a check. And
there was another issue that was brought up to us also, that the only thing that the state of Texas and TRCC is actually wanting to know is when each of those points that we would be inspecting is good. They don't want to know anything about any failures at all. So they're not going to keep any records on that at all. It would be up to the inspector to keep any of that. The only thing the state wants to know is after something has been approved that it is good now. So they have no way of knowing how many things have been failed and how many times it's been failed. So this could go on continuously, and the state is totally oblivious to it.
Then what pressure is applied to the builder to make things right?
If he has...
Do you have the authority to stop construction?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who enforces your stop construction order, though?
TRCC.
The Texas Residential Construction
Commission
has the power to stop construction.
Okay, what do they in fact do?
They will fine you. They will fine
so
you
find that someone now
on
the third or fourth time is not compliant, has not made the changes you've demanded. You contact the TRCC?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
And then they send someone out?
If it doesn't pass inspection, he has to sign off on each one of these dates and this form that I've got here.
Right. But he's also saying that he only reports a positive completion. There is the other side of the coin, the non-compliant builder.
Right.
There is no completion. I want to know how much muscle's behind the dialogue to stop that builder in his tracks. And at what point do you take upon yourself to contact the TRCC and say, this has been twice, 3 times, 45 times. This man is not in compliance.
There are a lot of loose ends in this process still.
Yes.
But this is new territory that hadn't been treaded upon, because at some point in time, nobody has written any rules that says that builder can't switch inspectors. It's up to the builder to decide what inspector he wants to use.
Now, the builder's going to have a project number on each house, and that hasn't been covered with us lately, but I noticed on this form it says builder's assigned project number. So the state's going to have record of this project number. And,
well, you register your house anyway.
And the progress and which state he's on. You register your house now at closing. Mm-hmm. Whenever title changes or during the closing process, you've got 15 days to register that house. And we've got to take another break. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Alamo Appliance, 100 South Riverside Drive in Fort Worth, has been serving your needs in kitchen appliances since the early 70s. They offer Genair, KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and many other appliances. And their sales staff is ready to help you anytime you might visit. That's Alamo Appliance, 817-531-2701. Once again, the Alamo Appliance number is 817-531-2701.
Fort Worth Lighting, serving Parker, Wise, Palo Pinto, and surrounding counties with a selection of interior and exterior lighting fixtures. They also have ceiling fans, mirrors, and vanities in all sizes. A lighting consultant will help you with your decisions. For an appointment with a Fort Worth Lighting consultant, the number is 817-597-6320, or the website is fortworthlighting.com. 817-597-6320 for Fort Worth Lighting.
Are you looking for a law firm with an understanding of the construction industry? Kelly M. Davis and Associates experience includes home inspections, construction contracts, disputes with builders, and helping subcontractors or vendors that have not been paid for their services. For more information, you may visit www.kmdalegal.com, or you may call 972-434-8009. That's 972-434-8009.
Kelly M. Davis and Associates. Principal offices are located in Louisville, Texas.
North Texas Basements, 817-770-2768. With over 30 years of experience in residential construction, add extra living area, storm protection, and extra room that will be easy to heat and cool without needing a large piece of ground to build on. Think about having a basement in your next home. North Texas Basements, 817-770-BSMT or 817-770-2768. Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I am your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. My guests today are Dale Miller with Trusted Home Inspections and Jean Gibson, my wife, with Gibson Home Builders. And we're talking about home inspections and the new required law in September that will require 3 inspections on
September the 1st.
September the 1st, yeah. They're going to require 3 inspections on all new housing, and it will be paid for by the builder, which will be passed down to the buyer. Mm-hmm. But we were talking about some of the loopholes and stuff that may be there. Like I said, I haven't got the full scoop on the inspections yet.
I think that's a lot of your frustration, isn't it, Dale? There's a lot of scoops that haven't been filled.
Not a lot of loopholes in the system yet.
Well, they'll come out with actually step-by-step procedures that we're going to have to follow and pass it out to all the builders. And hopefully, the builders, the builders that are registered will get it. And so, again, people, when I tell you when you're picking a builder and stuff, one of the first things you want to ask them is, what is your TRCC number? Because every builder should have a TRCC number to be legal to build in the state of Texas. And if he does not, he is not building legally, and the fines are up to $1,000 a day
per
offense, up to $100,000
a day.
$100,000 max. Mm-hmm. But that's per offense. So if you've got several offenses, you could rack up several $100,000 pretty quick. And but Dale's job primarily is to ensure the new buyer that all systems are working.
Well, what are your credentials? He's got to be a registered builder. He's got his education. And you, inspector, are controlling how we're building this house. Tell me what your credentials are.
I am a licensed professional home inspector.
By whom are
State
you?
of Texas.
And what is your educational background to become an inspector?
I have to have 448 classroom hours.
Whoa. Yeah.
That's a bunch of hours.
It
Yeah.
is. It used to be 188, and they raised it back in '06 to 448. And last year they kind of redid some of the hours. It still required 448 hours, but 120 of those are basically, there's two different ways that they can be used, but it's basically on-the-job type experience, participating in 120 hours of actual participation on home inspections. So I've tried to do that for new home inspectors too.
So they have to serve kind of an apprenticeship?
Correct. Well, it kind of is. Yeah, they've got to acquire those hours somewhere. They can either get it through part of their classroom work, which most schools offer that, or they can actually get it with a licensed professional home inspector out in the field as well that will sign off on it as well.
As a TRCC inspector, is that a different category of inspector, or is that just another agency that you work with?
No, that's a totally different entity completely in the state of Texas.
Right. So your license doesn't come through them or from them?
No.
They will have to be, the inspectors that inspect for TRCC are going to be certified by the TRCC.
Right. And that's nothing you have or need?
No, I don't have to have it. In fact, it's more risk to me if I decided to pursue that. From what we have determined, I would even have to increase my errors and omissions insurance coverage that I have right now, and that's some more of the problems that we're seeing. It is taking on more responsibility and more risk. So those are extra things that all of us are looking at right now.
You know, it's just about like any policy or any rule. If you want it to fail at first, what you do is follow it strictly to the T.
Yeah.
And when you follow it to the T, you find out what the problems really are. Yeah. And so that's, it's going to be a learning process for the TRCC. It's going to be a learning process for the builders. Yeah. And the main thing we've got to do is follow it to a T and see what is wrong with it.
But what is the whole point of all of this? What is the goal?
It is to level the playing field and really to help the home buyers or the customers get a fair deal. When, I'm going out here and I'm bidding a house and I bid $30,000 more than this other builder or whatever. Well, I'm trying to build it for a certain amount of margin for pocket. And this other builder, I'm sure, is trying to get about the same margin. Well, there's things that are happening there to get that $30,000 difference that may be leaving out stuff.
Correct.
And, right now you're supposed to meet all the codes. You're supposed to meet the international electrical codes. You're supposed to meet plumbing codes and everything. No matter where you build, you're supposed to meet at least a national or international code. And nobody's checking that. So the thing is now that they're going to have people that go out and they will inspect and check that and make sure they're meeting whatever codes that have to be met for that particular area. And it's going to level the playing field for a lot of builders out here.
Define level the playing field. I know what you mean, but explain what you're talking about.
Well, I'm saying that, if he is doing certain things, leaving certain stuff out, omitting things that need to be done by code, then we're all doing them by code, then the price is going to be pretty close.
A very good friend of mine that is a home inspector right here in the Weatherford area that helped me get in this business has been known to go out and do inspections on brand new houses in this area and find some of the shortcuts you're referring to where ground fault circuits were left out of certain areas in the house. And when he wrote it up and the builder hit him up and said, "Well, I don't have to do that," and he'd ask him, "Well, that's the code in the cities. Why don't you feel like you've got to do it out here?" And he said, "Well, there's no codes out here that require it." He said, "Well, if you'll cut those corners, what other corners will you cut too?"
Here.
And we've got to take another break, and we'll be back here in just a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Alamo Appliance, 100 South Riverside Drive in Fort Worth, has been serving your needs in kitchen appliances since the early 70s. They offer Genair, KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and many other appliances. And their sales staff is ready to help you anytime you might visit. That's Alamo Appliance, 817-531-2701. Once again, the Alamo Appliance number is 817-531-2701.
Fort Worth Lighting, serving Parker, Wise, Palo Pinto, and surrounding counties with a selection of interior and exterior lighting fixtures. They also have ceiling fans, mirrors, and vanities in all sizes. A lighting consultant will help you with your decisions. For an appointment with a Fort Worth Lighting consultant, the number is 817-597-6320, or the website is fortworthlighting.com. 817-597-6320 for Fort Worth Lighting.
Are you looking for a law firm with an understanding of the construction industry? Kelly M. Davis and Associates experience includes home inspections, construction contracts, disputes with builders, and helping subcontractors or vendors that have not been paid for their services. For more information, you may visit www.kmdalegal.com, or you may call 972-434-8009. That's 972-434-8009.
Kelly M. Davis and Associates. Principal offices are located in Louisville, Texas.
North Texas Basements, 817-770-2768. With over 30 years of experience in residential construction, add extra living area, storm protection, and extra room that will be easy to heat and cool without needing a large piece of ground to build on. Think about having a basement in your next home. North Texas Basements, 817-770-BSMT or 817-770-2768. Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I am your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. My guests today are Dale Miller with Trusted Home Inspections and Jean Gibson, my wife, with Gibson Home Builders. We're talking about home inspections and the new law that's going to come into effect here 1 month from now, which is September 1st, will require all houses, all new construction to be inspected. And
our conversation off the air was asking Dale how he feels about the inspectors, and he was giving us a little history background.
Yeah, there have been TRCC inspectors around for a while, third-party inspectors. They're actually consisted of mostly engineer-type peoples and people in profession.